Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jared Rand. Welcome to the Global Guided Meditation Call for Thursday, May 18th, 2023, after 3:15 p.m. Eastern. We're having a reverse aging health call tomorrow night at around 9 p.m. Eastern. We have a special guest. We're going to be introducing a new technology for the well-being of the body and the mind. If you could design a world, right, what would it be? How would you describe it in detail? What would you want it to be? Total liberation is not very far away. It's just hidden behind you. Okay. Experience life in all possible ways: good, bad, bitter, sweet, dark, light, summer, winter. Experience all the dualities. Don't be afraid of experience. Because the more experience you have, the more mature you become. Also, we all know that we have a dark and a light. We all know that in the darkest of the dark, there are light particles. And we know that in the brightest of the light, there are dark particles. But there's a balance. This planet has been out of balance for a long time. And the things that you're witnessing and seeing and feeling are because of that transition's in full swing. And understand that this is not a temporary, as you will start to see these little creatures coming out saying that, it's temporary, that it's only going to last 1,000 years and then it'll be done, and then it'll be back to pure evil. You've got to be very mindful and understand that you're the ones that are the masters. You've played a very important role in this transition, in this quadrant of the galaxy, and this solar system, on the outer rim of this galaxy. And this is a total, I guess you could call it a redo, okay? That what we created as a civilization through our emotions, thoughts, is what we're experiencing right now. Now, we didn't understand what this was going to be until now, and so we know that the transition has been up to us, and that's why it's being done. And that's why everything is being revealed. But the interesting thing is that all of this has always been there. It's just you have not seen it. You don't see it. And generations of us never saw it. We lived in a make-believe world, so to speak. We're coming out of that, and we're realizing that all of this low-grade frequency is being decimated. Now, what do you do? What happens when you stir up a nest of creatures? Well, they're all getting along and they're all doing their thing and they're all working for this and that. But you go in and you stir it up. They scatter, run. Some get angry. Some get frightful. But they scatter. and this is what you're witnessing on this planet at this time. Those of us who are awake to a certain extent are looking at this as a massive major transition. And it doesn't matter, you know, it's interesting. Some of us came into these bodies earlier than some of us, and then later than some of us. But we acknowledged and understood, we knew 50 years ago what was going on. 60 years ago what was going on. 70 years ago what was going on. But not many, not many. There were enough, though. So books came out, and, you know, the New Age was created, and the majority just thought it was nonsense. But now we're in a tremendously accelerated upward advancement for the civilization. When I mean upward, you're obviously ascending and transcending the lower grade vibrational frequencies, the dark paths. And it isn't, see, this is what's interesting. It isn't a color. Of course, black and white aren't really colors, they're bases for colors. But you have a black and white vision, if you will, and we associate the color black with evil and destruction, and we associate the color white with goodness and bliss. It really isn't it isn't a color. It's a frequency that is dark. Dark means much lower frequency than what we vibrate at currently and continue to increase. So as we do that, the dark, the low frequency begins to diminish. First, it's agitated, very much so, and is out attacking tooth and nail constantly. Then it becomes less and less in its ability to wield power because it's being strangled. When you take away the oxygen of a body, what does it do? It ceases. When you take away the power of these low frequencies, what do? They stop existing. They're diminished. How many times have you viewed things, and let's just say when you were young, real young, maybe 4, 5, 6, 7, most of us played and laughed, and we were like empty vessels as far as information. Some of us, however, knew things. It's not like we could communicate them to the adults, the bigger bodies, but we knew things. And a lot of you have known things, but you couldn't really, you know, you're 5, 6 years old, you can't, what are you going to do, right? But you know things. And you know that the way this planet is right now, the way it's been, is out of kilter. Blurred. It's a blurred vision. In other words, you look at something that's all blurred, you can't really discern the figures slightly. And this all of it comes from us. Every drop of it comes from us. We create it. Now, how is that done? When you can influence a civilization, okay, and that civilization is asleep, and so they look at authority, even though the authority isn't authority, but they believe it is, they create the authority. So the very thing that they don't care for, they create. And then it rules over them. Now, the question that we ask ourselves, why did we do this? Well, why did we manifest this? Could it be that we needed to learn it? Now, obviously, throughout the history of this planet, the people never knew much at all. Only the few knew things, and the rest was kept from the civilization. So the civilization couldn't discern much at all, nor really know what was going on. So they just followed leadership that they believed were leaders, because they seemed, what? Powerful, right? So I believe that more and more of us on this planet are actually discovering these things and saying, this has been one heck of an education that I've created for myself. So now what do we know? And I'm not saying all of us, because we all know that it isn't all of us by far. But what do we know now? We know what pure evil is. We know what it's capable of doing in the event it's able to convince a civilization to believe in what it's spewing out. That's the power. That's always been the power. If you're convinced that something is truthful by who you believe are credible or powerful, then what are you going to do? Most cases, you're going to go along with it. And you're going to believe in it, and you're going to make it stronger through your manifesting powers. But you don't know it. And then comes a time where you become much more cognizant and aware. And so it gives us an absolute blueprint on what not to do with the new earth. To have that is absolutely astronomical. Instead of kicking around, bumping into each other, and figuring out what we're going to do with New Earth, it's been laid out for us. The things that we've created collectively throughout the ages, the things that have been engaged throughout the generations, we know are not what we're going to do with New Earth. We know that honesty, truthfulness, kindness, generosity, and humbleness are the opposite of what we've experienced in this life, and many lifetimes, as a matter of fact. Fear, anxiety, stress, all of these things we've created for ourselves. Now, obviously, we didn't say this is the life I want to live, so therefore I'm going to create it. We did it, subconsciously. And while we were doing it, we didn't know we were doing it. Remember, this is going to become more and more apparent as we progress, as we move up and forward as a civilization. We are supremely powerful, immortal beings. There's no questioning it. It isn't even debatable in these bodies. Now, as we discover our true power through the heart, mind, and the now, and then we surrender and release all of the things that we've been carrying, which quite frankly, most of started with just a thought. Thoughts have no power, right? They're like wispy clouds floating by. They have no power at all. But when we grab that cloud and we give it power, in other words, we power it up, and then it moves into reality. It takes on form, moves into reality, and then we experience it. We're learning that when these thoughts come in, we can say, because we will know, I'm not interested in engaging in that thought. And we're getting to know the ego mind. It's not a blame game. It's something that we inherit when we get into these bodies. Now, it doesn't mean that the ego mind can't be used as a positive when we're in mastership of it. Not so when we are in slave to it. So we've been given a blueprint, and it's going to be front and center here shortly for everyone to see. Because we've got to see it. We've got to really know, truthfully, every one of us, the debauchery, the destruction, the lack of respect for human life and any life. To know that, so it is indelibly inked in our brains, so that we understand that this cannot ever happen and will not ever happen again. How many of us knew about these things 50 years ago? 60 years ago? How many of us knew about them? I don't think many. There were some, okay? There were some back then that did know that something was not right, it was off. But how many of us knew about that this planet has been used as a farm, if you will, to supply food to other species? And I'm not talking about fruits and vegetables. I'm talking about us. And it's been directed, misled, misguided by really low frequencies. And the most spiritually expansive, loving, healing, and magical experiences in this life instantly start manifesting when we take the risk to look within and be honest, vulnerable, and real with who we think we are. What do you think it would be like if all of us were to drop our masks, remove all of our masks, with everyone in our lives, become totally transparent with everyone in this world? And when we do that, then the supreme enlightened reality sneaks into us. And this enlightened perception of life takes over our mind, creating an energetic merging with our ego and spiritual essence. And we feel this awesome, wholesome love for ourselves and others everywhere we go. And all of us being fearless, we do not fear. Fearless in unraveling and exposing our most enlightened and horrific selves. All of us will come to the understanding that we will relax and truly be at okay with every good and bad idea that passes through our mind and emotions. And not to get stuck in anything, stuck on anything. Become such a slippery surface, which all thoughts slide off of. We cannot take anything that is revealed personally, as every idea and concept we have about who we are was handed down to us, programmed in our subconscious mind from our parents, siblings, teachers, society, and the many generations who were before them. And when we discover for ourselves that we are the sum cause of the entire universe, we're experiencing a form of spiritual liberation on this planet at this time, in this now. Some fight it, some embrace it, some aren't too sure about it. Either way, it cannot be halted. Some people will let a little bit at a time in. Others will let the gusher in as much as they can absorb. And others will be on the fence, not sure. Either way. Resting in silence and stillness of mind, ironically, is the cause of our enlightenment, and what's blocking us from experiencing it is the same thing, the mind. When we leave the mind alone, dropping any attachment we have to it, the brilliant light of our being can then shine through. And this brilliance is all we can see in every direction. And of course, a mind is essential to adventure into this great journey into spiritual liberation. Yet we first need to understand what the mind actually is so that one day we can become free from it. Some people think that means that we're going to lose our minds, right? It just means that we don't have any motivation to engage it anymore. We're not interested in engaging it. You can picture yourself, the mind sitting there saying, come on in. Come on in here. It's really nice. You won't regret it. Then you say to yourself, but I've already been there. And the mind can no longer trick you to go in there because you've already been there. So the mind starts to understand that it's really not needed. And so it takes a back seat. And then it begins to get comfortable and feel secure. See, you, the master of the mind, direct the mind where you want it to go, what you want it to do. Right now on this planet for a long time, it's been the other way around. It tells you what to do. How many times have you said to yourself, I wish I could do what that person does? Right? How many times? I wish I could do that. But then that, the evil mind comes in and says, oh, you can't do that. And then you accept it and then you just leave it alone. And then eventually, as you watch the ego mind, you begin to learn. And then you start moving beyond it and you say, I can do that. And with no rebuttal from the mind. In fact, the mind becomes your ally and says, yes, you can do that, rather than no, you can't. It's like, this is the ironic thing for us to finally decipher. We're the God, we're the power, we're the creation. We're the God, we're the power, we're the creation. Now, our mind ego will say, no, you're not. I'm in charge here. I say what goes and what doesn't. But then you begin to test the waters. And the more you start testing the waters, the more you start getting clarity. You say, wait a minute. I am a powerful supreme being that's in this body. This is the real me. And how many of us are afraid of the power that we are? How many of us are afraid of that? Of the power that we are. So you say, you're not going to use it. And there's always excuses not to use it where you say, oh, that's silly. That's not possible. And settle back into what? That little circle of comfort. It's funny because these bodies are always changing. Everything around us is always changing. And the only thing that never changed and the only thing that's real is the God that we are in these bodies. Who do you think has created a new earth for us to step into? We have. You get the vibrational light frequency to a certain level, things unfold. Through our collective consciousness and direction, they're unfolding. Have you ever, you kind of reflect, right? You're weak. Your week is like a day. Okay? And the year is like a month, and the month is like a week, and the week is like a day, and the day is like an hour. And then you kind of trace over, say 3 months go by. There's like a flash. And then you reflect and go, holy cow, all that's happened? It seems like it was just yesterday. Have things been greatly accelerated? Yes. Who's doing it? We are. Doesn't mean we're consciously aware, all of us. Might be subconsciously aware. And we all have the power to create anything we desire. So we create a world. And then we say, oh, this isn't the world we thought we were going to be entertained by. So let's create another one based upon all the things we've witnessed in this one, how we would structure it. And then the bell goes off. Correct. And that's what we're doing. And for some, it's not. For some, people are angry. That isn't a frequency to stay in. You can be powerful and strong without being angry. I believe that a lot of people don't understand that enlightenment is a full body experience, head to toe, inside and out. So it means the whole body is engaged in experiencing life, and not just the over-analytical mind. In order for us to step back from the mind, it requires total awareness. Every enlightened experience begins by first taking one step back from the mind and resting into a state of pure awareness. This is why an enlightenment seeker meditates, not to control the mind, yet to transcend all thinking completely, calling forth the experience of total silence, stillness, and pure awareness inside. Now, how many people have you come across where they want to control everything? They want to be front and center. They want to control everything. They want to move everything and manage everything and look over everything. And it's a huge, deep habit. They want to control it all. They can't let go. They can't relax. No matter what they try to do, it's always about them controlling something. It is something that takes 100% of our devotion and dedication. We know that the mind is deeply addicted to the outer search. And it will and has and will continue to do so, to spend lifetimes searching for fulfillment in the outer world, believing this is the purpose of life. It will continuously try to fill your time on earth with new information, people, and special goodies out there, never questioning reality or what your heart or soul is really yearning for inside. How many of us do you believe have 100% surrendered to life? A 100% surrendered to this life. This comes from giving more energy towards that natural trusting feeling in something bigger than you is running the entire show. The supreme God source and cosmic intelligence is very real and always connected with our core essence. We are a drop of water in this sweet cosmic ocean. We are not separate from the vast sea of bliss. Until we get caught in the mind and believe we are, when we rest in total stillness of mind, we instantly dissolve back into the sea of bliss and find freedom within it all. Be aware that the mind is very tricky. It really is. It's slippery. So you've got to use caution whenever you approach it. Don't trust the mind or buy into its stories, as it will confidently lead you down one sure path and then switch the next day into following a completely different direction. So we trust the heart instead of the mind. The heart lives in love. and abides in a connection of oneness with this universe. This is the easiest doorway to enter the experience of enlightenment. When I look inside and I see that I am nothing, that's wisdom. When I look outside and see that I am everything, that is love. And between these two, my life turns as Rigadata Mirage. Now, some people would think that, wow, this is tedious and it's detailed and complicated. I don't know if I want to, indulge in that. Now, some of us come to a full awareness of 100% trusting 100% in ourselves and the universe and in this sacred journey that we're all on through this life. Always being trusting, open, and available to yourself, the universe, and your life is no small matter. Accessing our full enlightened nature is so enormous that we must expand beyond our old comfort zones and trust in something beyond the mind, beyond everything we know. Now, when we're living in a continuous state of trust and learning how to abide in the feminine energy, this is the highly fertile experience of openness, deep relaxation, pure receptivity. When this energy enters our body, it means we have stopped engaging in this society's over-controlling, dominating masculine influence. We started a whole new leg of that journey. We all have the feminine magnetic force that is inherent at the core of every atom in creation. The sacred feminine energy is wild, liberating, is very magnetic. It is inside everything around us. It is very real, organic, and it shows up naturally when we stop pursuing the life that never fully satisfied us. When we live from a state of 100% trust, we start allowing this magical universe to unfold however it will. Scary part for most of us, how many of us are willing to release 99% control over our life? Then ask yourself, what is this 1% still holding on to? Why would clinging to thoughts of fear, doubt, and needing more control be more important than your spiritual freedom? Sure, we could allow for a small percentage of our ego's free will to be there. Yet it's good to explore how this non-trusting ego trip is just some entertaining sideshow and how the real and not the real deal. And it is a full let go of our beliefs, addictions, demands on ourselves and others, and this world. It means that we stop avoiding our unlimited spiritual nature. Total trust is about you recognizing the divine soul that you are. This life, all the lifetimes that we've experienced, but let's look at the one we're in now, is meant to be a continuous trusting process. Continuous trusting process. All journeys are outward journeys. There are no inward journeys. How can you turn inwards? You're already there. There is no point in going. When going stops, journeying disappears. When desiring is no more clouding the mind, you are in ocean. Feel the oneness between the spiritual and material world. Manifesting our material dream life and the road to enlightenment are two sides of the same coin. When we embrace our natural manifesting ability, we must also open the door to a greater spiritual depth inside, which is needed to balance everything out. We cannot be fully enlightened unless we are enjoying our connection with the vibrant, rich matrix of powerful manifesting energy that exists in quantum particles all around us and is what we refer to as the material world. We also cannot totally enjoy any physical riches and luxuries of the material world without being relaxed and surrendered to our divine spiritual energy at our core. Because we're always questioning ourselves, asking ourselves, do I deserve all this? And then your God within you says, absolutely. And then some. Now, these worlds are one world, two sides of the same coin. They are interdependent with each other, feeding into the other. They cannot exist without each other. If we judge something in the material world as bad, we set up an energetic block inside us which stops our spiritual growth and vice versa. It is only through surrendering to the merging of our spiritual and material nature that we find the fastest path to freedom, ironically. You will find the experience of spiritual surrender is one of the greatest manifesting agents It's like surrendering to the path of freedom, our spiritual and material nature, that we find the fastest path. We will find the experience of spiritual surrender as one of the greatest manifesting secrets that was ever invented, and causes our dreams and desires to manifest faster than the speed of light. So what is that? Retire into solitude. Seat yourself on a clean spot in an erect position with the head and neck in a straight line. Control all sense organs. Bow down in devotion to your teacher. Then enter the lotus of the heart and meditate there on the presence of Brahman. the pure, the infinite, the blissful. Kalvalya Upanishads. It's good to know that the road towards enlightenment is the highest spiritual path one can choose to follow through life. Not because self-realization is so challenging to discover and maintain, yet rather because it is also extremely easy and effortless. It is both effortless and ridiculously challenging, which is what makes it so enticing to explore. The mind is often too small of a container to grasp this, and many become confused by this conundrum, which is why we haven't heard about that many enlightened beings in our Earth's history. The good news is that anyone can step into this empty of mind, spiritually awakened state instantly at any moment. Since the light of consciousness is our basic nature, depending on your programming, may require decades of searching and efforting to set the mind aside. Remain fully conscious of pure consciousness. Totally relax in your body and eternally expanding into your cosmic spiritual nature. I'll join you in a meditation. I'll return to close us out.
She's been with
Take an easy and slow breath in through the nose, and an easy and a slow breath out from the mouth. Remain still. Shine the light of consciousness into your unconsciousness, and you will illuminate your soul. Right now, there is a massive amount of hidden, unknown, buried material in our unconsciousness. Sometime today, for 30 minutes, bring your awareness into your unconsciousness. How do you do this? Well, sit in a dark room, close your eyes, and relax deeply into your belly and body. Allow any thought to arise that may be hidden beneath the surface. When they do, the instant they enter your mind, imagine you're shining a bright golden spotlight on them immediately. However, this light is so powerful, it incinerates the thought, and they dissolve instantly, giving more space for you inside. During this exercise, know that you are safe here. No matter what you experience, even though you may see nothing and feel nothing, stay present to the void. You may feel your entire body and mind have disappeared. Simply remain present and aware that consciousness is always here. Take this with you for the rest of the day, into the evening and night the following morning. We will return here Friday, May 19th, 2023, 3:15 p.m. Eastern, to continue our global guided meditation call, and 9 p.m. Eastern to continue our reverse aging health call. Be gentle, kind, generous, and humble with yourself at all times. Be in the highest of the deepest eternal gratitude at all times. No matter what's going on outside of you.